So being over 27 in China is just being like cut off society as a woman, of course, because males are kings, especially if they have the back. Otherwise, they are also leftovers. Listen to today's story. Wo Yuan, a 28-year-old sales manager in Shanghai, had saved tens of thousands of renminbi to put a deposit on a flat, only to be persuaded by her parents to help her male 34-year-old cousin to buy a house instead. What? Like her parents are insisting on her buying a house to like her cousin with her money? In Wo's world, my parents thought that if we helped him to buy a home, he might be able to get married. Okay, so if she doesn't get married, she will not get a house, and since she gives this money away for that one cousin, she will be homeless too. And in the city, further north in Beijing, a man in his 50s bought a flat for his 11-year-old son, explaining, I don't want him to become a poor sod who can't get a girlfriend because they need a house. And in the city of Xi'an, a 31-year-old woman's fiancé abruptly canceled their upcoming wedding not long after she bought a small flat in her own name. What? This is just a handful of anecdotes from Leftover Woman, a timely, rich, and intricately written book on gender equality in China by Hong Kong-based author and journalist Lera Hon Fincher. The notion of a leftover woman, a highly educated urban professional woman over the age of 27 who is still single, has been peddled aggressively in columns, news reports, and cartoons in Chinese state media over the past few years, urging women to be a little less ambitious, lower their standards, and hurry up and find a husband, lest they become unwanted. Chinese women have routinely been portrayed as greedy and materialistic. So now they have this kind of propaganda for them to get married because they have this birth imbalance and marriage imbalance and gender imbalance and overall country imbalance. So therefore, they need this woman to compromise and just leave their careers or even their own savings in order to give them, to please them, because they're being too ambitious. But when guys are ambitious about having more than one woman, especially if you are a married guy in China and you are doing business, it's just a normal custom to have another one, maybe Xiaoshan or just a lover. Why not? If you're a rich guy, you can afford it and you need it as a name card to give face for yourself in front of your friends or colleagues or business partners. It's just like a status, kind of a symbol of status for your own. This is just pure nonsense, guys. And by the way, am I looking pretty today? I'm feeling so good. Although I'm 37, I'm even 10 years older than the girl in the story, but nonetheless, I'm feeling good. So good. So good. I'm seriously feeling so good today. So good that you guys have to give this video a thumbs up, as well as to give me buy me a coffee to support the channel, because I'm laughing here for you. For you. Okay. This isn't just a brazen and insulting media campaign. Hon Fincher argues cogently that the trend has severe economic consequences. Obviously, therefore, they are pushing them to, Given that the marriage and home buying are so closely connected in China, she writes that women have largely been shut out of China's immense accumulation of residential real estate wealth. How? By allowing their husband's name to be the sole name on the deed of the marital home. She cites 2020 research on home buyers in Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, which found that men's names were on the property deeds of 70% of marital homes. Compounding these are revisions made to China's marriage law, which state that upon divorce, each side can keep whatever property is registered in his or her own name. Great. So the woman is just homeless, right? With the majority of property deeds being in the man's name, the odds are clearly stacked against women. State media has exacerbated this gender discrimination. Another one, Home Fincher finds, with the result often being that highly educated women quit their jobs before they marry out of fear. Of fear, guys. They don't marry out of like love, but fear. And if it's not of that kind of fear of being just discriminated by society for being a leftover, it's because of fear of not having anything in life, because the disparity or the injustice of just jobs, etc. I'm saying this with some real evidence. When I was in Beijing, and I remember this girl just telling me how she needed to act in front of her boss in order to just keep her job, Her boss was kind of flirting with her, although she didn't have any intentions. But if she will stop him, then he will be angry and he will be not willing her to be there anymore. So she had to compromise to that. Like she was left without choices. Okay. So with the result often being that highly educated women quit their jobs before they get married out of fear they will become too old to find a husband. Staying competitive. She explains the pressure on women to marry for the benefit of a harmonious society. The government made upgrading population quality a priority, citing China's severe sex ratio imbalance as a threat to social stability. China's National Bureau of Statistics estimates that there are around 30 million more men under 30 than women under 30. In theory, Home Fisher says, the women being targeted by the campaign should be empowered, given China's rapid economic growth and the educational gains of women in recent years. In her view, the Leftover Woman campaign is part of a broader backlash against women educational gains over recent years, with their educational and professional successes kind of evaporating when they marry and buy a home. A large part of this is because urban home ownership has become a defining feature of masculinity in China. Parents will routinely help their sons or even nephews buy a home, but not their daughters, and so the enormous value of residential property in China ends up largely being concentrated in the hands of men. Women are in effect forfeiting ownership of the most valuable asset in the family. Because homes are so unaffordable, you have to have the pooling of family assets. That means it's the parents who put up a lot of money towards the house, and it tends to be the man's parents who put up more money. That gives them more power over who gets their name on the deed and contributes to the tremendous pressure on the woman to leave her name off it, she says. Terrified of being single, Home Fisher tells me she has interviewed women who fought with their boyfriends to have their names on their property deed before they eventually backed down. Part of it is their own parents telling them to, because they are terrified their daughters are not going to find another husband. Part of it is because women have internalized the message so much that they really believe if they walk away from this unequal financial arrangement, they won't find another man. With this being said, guys, we can just imagine how uneven, unequal, unhappy marriages are in China, This pressure is not confined to heterosexual single women to combat family pressure to marry. A trend known as functional marriage has emerged, A gay man will arrange a marriage with a lesbian to basically fool their parents and relatives, Homefincher explains. They are legally married, but it is a marriage to stave off pressure from parents. While some have argued this is empowering for those involved, critics say that lesbians opting into these arrangements will often enter into the same kinds of unequal financial home buying arrangements that heterosexual women fell prey to. Homefincher, while reluctant to project into the future, says she will imagine the cultural phenomenon of parents showing bias for sons will continue. I did not find a single case out of my sample of 283 people where there was a son and a daughter and the parents bought a home for the daughter and not the son if the daughter was of marriage age, she explains. Meanwhile, on Weibo, women are finding ways of reclaiming the word leftover. Homonyms are often used online for the word sheng, which is leftover, that translate as victorious or triumphant. This woman might say, I'm leftover and I'm proud to be leftover. I don't know, guys. Is this like kind of a, sign for me to sign up for that kind of thing or what? If it's not that, then I need to find a husband ASAP. Okay. I'll be so nice when I go back to China. Maybe I'll join them. But I'm not proud to be left over. And I mean, it's just nonsense. Let's keep reading. Okay. Some will say, I am a triumphant woman. One woman said, I am going to continue to use this term, but it is going to become a badge of honor. Just in the way queer used to be an insult and now people use it. Another portion of young women reject the leftover woman message entirely and say they refuse to marry. They are a small minority of the population, but it is almost inevitable that Chinese women are going to follow the trends in neighboring countries like Singapore. Wow, I'm amazed. South Korea and Japan, where women are increasingly delaying marriage or rejecting it altogether. What? Okay, so we have some comments. The extraordinary pressure Chinese women place on themselves keeps them single and out of touch with society. Seeing as how Chinese women won't marry a guy who doesn't own a home, it's not weird that men own the majority of homes. I have masters, a career, and a property. Why doesn't anyone want to marry him? I'd rather marry a young, pretty woman who wants to bear my children. Okay, so we can see that this is getting severe by day in the China society, media, economy, environment, and overall, like in all aspects of life. Somehow this is affecting China overall. Like women don't wanting to get married. Wow, I'm just very amazed. You know what I have just thought about? Like Mexico having the first president woman. Like if there will be a day when China will have a female president. Would you guys think this is possible at all? I mean, everything is possible, but who knows when that can be possible. So far that Mexico has a female president is just a super, super hype thing. Like, it's just very surprising because we are a macho culture. But with the past presidential election of the US, what I've read so far in the internet and media was that you guys in the US were even more machos than us because couldn't allow a woman to step into power. That's what I read. Of course, that is not doesn't mean that it was because he won. But I read a lot of comments that were like a big majority of the voters did not vote for the guy, or Trump better said, just because they wanted him to win, but they just vote for him because they didn't want her to win. So in Mexico, at least we crossed that line already, and we had the first female president in a very macho culture. And this is just insane. And USA did not. Maybe soon, who knows? What about China? Do you guys think China will arrive to this day soon or not? Or maybe never? I mean, as you can see day by day with the stories, the reality is that they are quite also, how to say, patriarchal. Sometimes it's also very macho culture. When I believe is this, they have this macho culture when there is, okay, first time when they're just dating, all is red and like wine and roses, yeah. Like when they are dating, this one guy or these 9 or 10 guys are like going after this one girl or this one woman to marry her. That's the only objective. And previous to that, he's just so invested into this one girl. All they are so invested, like 9 guys or 10, with just one girl, because the target is just to get married and nothing else from that. So the stress is all just on the victim, on the, I mean, you know, on the solely mission to get the woman to go to say yes to you, to have the commitment. And well, all this happens while you are, pursuing, you are kind of dating, you're going out, you guys are boyfriend and girlfriend in China. This is how it works. Basically, he will be so nice, he will be so romantic, and he will talk, of course, about getting married and all that jazz. And the girl will be like, yeah, I saw that when I was studying in Shenzhen Uni. There will be couples all around. And it seems so like honeymoon stage, very sweet and innocent. But once he got the prey, like once he got what he wanted, which is marriage, things somehow changed, because I have seen and I have heard, and you guys also, perhaps you have seen also, there are so many unhappy women in China. Maybe, I don't know how many are that unhappy, because they are also kind of used to that, and they are also like not complaining that much because it's what their society does. So they are kind of, come to terms with it, so they don't think that much about it. But the fact that their men, now husbands, are like coming out late home, like even not coming back home, or just going on those business trips where they usually have these girls, KTV, massages, like all these pleasurable places to do business in China, is not of their like, is not something that they have agreed previously on. Maybe they didn't know all this when they were young. They kind of were just very in love and in the honeymoon stage. But once they got married, somehow many of them changed. And since he already got her, he not just got her, but got to have the children he wanted and the marriage. After that, it's all fine if whatever happens. Of course, it's not that fine, but the success line is already crossed. You become a real man when you got married and you have the children. After that, you're not gonna be like a failure. I mean, yes and not if you get divorced, but at least you become one successful. It's just even better that one guy that is all pure and great and very diligent in his life, but doesn't get to have the marriage or the children. That is more of a failure than this one. So I've seen that so many of these guys or these husbands really just care less and less for the woman once they got the prey, just like anywhere around the world, and they start falling victim of all these distractions, right? As well as if these men are getting better and better financially, there will be always girls around. Because I myself had one of my friends, that's a little bit not very pleasant to say because I don't want to be related to this kind of persons. That was the last time I saw her, by the way. when she told me the story about how she was going out with this married man, and by that time we were like 28 or 29. And I was just very curious, like, why would a very pretty woman would be going out with a married man? Anyhow, I'm not sure, maybe money, maybe whatever. I just recall, like, she said, like, oh, he was very good at bed, but nonetheless, I was just very uncomfortable with the idea that she was somehow harming a family, and that if you wanted to have pleasure, you could find other guys that were available, not committed, or not having a family to take care of. Anyways, this happened, and therefore I have been with friends or acquaintances, better said, that is not, I'm proud of to say, but just I've known people that are from this side of this side of the scale, as well as of the other side, where of the victim and the other one guy that goes out and also has girls. Or even I had also experience of with this guy that wanted to employ me, and I knew he was married, that was also very, wanted me to go with him to places, and I just really denied at all, because I was not interested in those kind of dynamics. Like, I was feeling myself, and I still feel myself, are very complete, whole and valuable, to have my own full, complete, whole and valuable person, not to share, or not to be the other one, or not to be that one person that harms just because of whatever reason. Anyhow, this is what is happening in China. As you can see, the situation somehow it's quite alarming, because it does hit the economy, it does hit the birth rate, it does hit the consumption rate, because the less people there are in China, the less consumption there is, the less they get married, also the less, like, for example, maybe some industries can be affected. The marriage industry in China, it's super huge, guys. Like, there is like photographs of getting married, which are very costly, as well as the whole venue where you're gonna get married. Let's say there's a hotel and the whole thing overall, as well as other formalities. So I do believe if the numbers somehow get to be slowing down in the marriage rating scenario, there should be some consequences, as well as just, why is it that so many women in China are just preferring to stay alone? I don't believe that you can just be, how to say, pointing at them that they are just having very high standards, but I do believe there must be something else. As a woman myself, I believe maybe it's not about the standards, because give us a break, guys. Like, whenever there is like a real man, like real sweet, real nice, real worth being with, we're gonna say yes, and we're gonna just lower our standards to be with that one, like, gentleman. But I believe maybe there's many more layers to discover in this scene, specifically China. Whereas, for example, in this article just stated that the properties, they are so unbalanced, and the women are just agreeing to go ahead with that deal because of fear of just being left over, or not because the society will judge them, or their parents will be feeling like a failure as well, like they raised them and somehow they expected them to have the best out of life, and for some the best they can get is just get that one person, like that one husband, and they will be just like in Mulan's movie. You guys remember Mulan's movie, where she didn't want to feel like to dishonor the family. So many of these women are also feeling the same pressure of like not going with their own will, but just compromising to others because of not dishonoring their own parents or the family, or like overall, So that is just very sad. And I do support the bunch of girls that are not wanting to get married for their own purposes or reasons, because I think, I feel that must be very courageous in a society like China. It's not the same to be single in China than to be single in Mexico, like myself here, or in the USA or in Europe. Because here, even if you're 40 or 50, it's common to be dating, like people go on dates in the USA too, like you can get a second marriage or whatever. In China, it's just not as common, and you just get pointed at and judged, criticized. So just like this one girl, like she saved all her life just to get that apartment for herself. Maybe she was living a decent, peaceful, and just very relaxed life. Why does she has to be pressured by her family to give this money away for her cousin in order for him to get married? Because otherwise he wouldn't be able to do so. And what about if, and why can she not just afford herself also her own living place, since you never know like what the future foresees for her? Like, let's say she does get married, but the husband is just a abusive husband. So then she has to run away to her parents or just find a way for herself. So I do encourage, and I do believe it's a great option for women to secure themselves first, no matter what will happen next. It's not like you don't need it because you will get married, but even if you get married, who knows or how your luck will be. You still need to be like wise and savvy, independent in a way. Not like I'm saying that independent goes or confronts with having a husband at all, but just having your independent ideas on what you want is just totally valid. And I don't believe it's fair what is happening there with all these women giving away their dreams, their like own desires or plans even for others, because the family will just be feeling a failure if that one guy doesn't marry or what. Like, they have to search for themselves. So this is what's happening. What do you guys think about it? I would like to just find myself the best option, of course, just like anyone else, but with the dignity and not like feeling, is this or nothing, or is this or this is just the best I can get, otherwise I'll just be left over and that'll be just hell. Anyways, I just feel very weird when I am mentioning the leftover term on myself, which I don't know. It's just like I will say now I'm leftover. It's just very annoying. the leftover movement is also pure nonsense. Just feel very awkward. But once I'm back to China, I would like to see this kind of woman. I would like to interview them here for the channel, and so on and so forth. But your comments, guys, will be very appreciated. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as well as to support me down in the Buy Me a Coffee or PayPal app. Kisses to the world.